In this series of videos from a podcast we recorded on June 6th, we take a look at 12 iconic movie scenes from the 1980s, where we discuss things like pop cultural impact, instant recognizability, even how it got parodied in other movies and media. At the end of the podcast, we try to figure out which scene was the most iconic out of the 12. For the list of rules we followed in deciding which scenes to use, please look in the description. And if you like what you see, please subscribe to our channel. Our first one, Soto, the original DeLorean trial that they do. This is obviously one of the most iconic scenes in the movie,
So good. Yes.
and stuff like that. But when you saw this, I know I'm going to give the floor to you more because I know Back to the Future is one of your favorite movies. We've talked about this
Oh.
time and time again.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's now that I look at it, I'm like the special effects stick out, but um,
It is
because it's
80s.
like it's so cheesy 80s. But I mean, I fucking loved it. Like this was the first scene where I was like, okay, because this movie starts off very like whatever, and then when this shit happens, it was like, okay, like all of a sudden it kicked it to the next gear and it got super cool. Plus, I loved the DeLorean design when I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, so iconic. As soon as I saw the DeLorean, and it's like just the way that, like when it goes back in time and how it kind of lights up on the edges and shit like that, like as it's going, shit, like it's so fucking cool. So yeah, to me, like this is a great scene. As I get older, I still wonder, we've talked about this many times, why they're friends, but that's okay. I think we've talked about it. I think that there's been some other lore, like in other side games that have kind of maybe addressed it. I'm not sure, but it's one of the greatest, like you just assume, like the story just assumes that you're okay with it, and so it moves forward. It doesn't explain it.
No.
It doesn't have any exposition, and you know what? Sometimes it's fine.
Yeah, just
You
tell a
don't need to
story.
explain
Yeah,
it.
you don't
Just
need
tell
to
a
over
story. It's
explain.
like, okay, it's like in my mind as a child, I was like, okay, this teenage guy who's 30 or something, uh, this teenager's friends with this guy, this older guy, and they're doing experiments. Like, it checked out for me. Um, I think that part that weirded me out about this part too is that like they almost got hit by the DeLorean coming back as well. Like it was coming back in the same
Hmm.
traction too. It's like that. They had to like dive out of the way. Um, and then of course I remember it like him trying to open the door and then Marty being like, "Is it hot?" And he's like, "No, it's cold, damn cold," or whatever he says when he opens up the door. So I mean, I love this scene. It's great, and it's just such an iconic 80s like scene. You know exactly what movie it is. Everybody's seen it. It's kind of like Jaws, and there are movies that stay with us in our sort of collective like minds, and this scene in particular is one that's awesome, and it gets referenced specifically, this flaming tire stuff, like throughout the series as well. So, and it's awesome.
And not just throughout the series, movies have paid tribute to this, that same idea. And also just not just the scene as a whole. You're right. I mean, Einstein coming back, well, the car coming back and almost hitting them was hilarious because he's just like, hold
Yes.
on. And he pulls Marty right out of the way and stuff like that.
They could have died right there.
They could have, Doc just was, I don't know how he figured time travel because at the time he's idiot, but that's just how this dynamic works. But just the scene that created just what it did for the DeLorean. You see the
Yeah.
DeLorean, it's an instant. You kind of mentioned it with Indiana Jones, like you can just see the silhouette of the DeLorean. It's an iconic car, and this scene helped make
Hmm.
that just something that's just lasts for ages. Because here we are, like when did this come out? 85? Is that 85,
Yeah.
84?
Sounds about
Yeah,
right. 85, 86. Yeah.
yeah. So damn, it's
Same
close
year
to
as Teen Wolf, if I remember,
Yes, that is correct. Yes, because that's
as
right.
we've
They came out
discussed.
same summer. That's right in the Teen Wolf podcast. But yeah, no, this just amazed me. And again,
Hmm.
you're right. I mean, for you look back at it, the special effects may be a little dated, but I think it still works. Like I said, the nostalgia is there and everything. And then obviously he goes back to 1955 and but yeah, this scene to me was something that you just always remember. If you're a fan of movies in the 80s, that's one you always remember. So
Why
yeah,
would time travel leave like a fire trail, by the way? I mean, maybe for another podcast, but
well, we can pick apart little things here and
the
there. There's a
science of
lot
it.
of questions. Just how about this? That just goes to the side, like Doc and Marty's friendship. Where you're like, we just don't know why. It just happens, but it's a
It
cool
just looked
visual.
cool.
It's a cool,
It's
cool
so
visual.
so cool.
It is, and just especially, I know it's not. this screenshot isn't the greatest, but when it was between both, they're like, it was just hilarious
That was
too. But
awesome.
I think it just works, and it is
Hmm.
one of the better scenes that have ever happened. So,
He controls the DeLorean with like an RC like car controller.
yeah,
It's
no
fucking
questions,
crazy.
no
No,
questions, don't ask questions. So,
as a kid, I was like, this all works. As long as it makes sense cinematically, you can really get away with a lot of things in a movie. As long as it's true to what the fuck is happening, you
mhm,
can be like, yep, I agree with this. This is cool.
yeah. So yeah, this is kind of the first iconic scene, and Back to the Future, obviously one of our top movies, and definitely I know you've talked about one of your most influential, best movies too.
Ah,
Beetlejuice. Now this
yeah,
one we're going more on
it's
the comedy.
iconic too.
Oh my god! I still every now and then just bust out Deo.
Oh yeah,
I
this is one of
have,
my crushes. One of my crushes in the
yeah, you're
background
right
here.
there in the right there.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw this, because the tone of the movie first was a little bit, it mixed like Tim Burton does, dark comedy and stuff like that.
This is good
But
Tim Burton.
this this was so out of everything that was happening in the film, because Beetlejuice as a character is just out there. Everything's out there. How did a dancing scene become one of the most out there scenes in a Beetlejuice movie? Like, we all love it, but you think about everything else that's happening, with ghosts and death and stuff like that and weird characters.
Yeah.
This is the scene we remember most. Like, it seemed out of place, but perfect for a Tim
Mm-hmm.
Burton movie, if that makes sense at all, because we were seeing all this other stuff, and then we just see this whole their dance and stuff like that, and I still laugh at the scene. It's such a great song. Obviously, it's the only time I sing it is when I think of this movie. But what were your thoughts if you can even remember way back seeing the scene for the first time, but just the scene in this movie?
I mean, I thought it was awesome, and this is peak Tim Burton to me. I have my opinions about Tim Burton that I'll get into some other time, but about what Tim Burton is now, and I get into arguments with Sarah about this pretty regularly. But um, because this was like right after, if I'm not mistaken, it's right around because his first director debut was Pee Wee, the Pee Wee movie, which has a lot of Tim Burton stuff in it. And so as a kid, like, I'm watching my first intro to Tim Burton was Pee-wee's, I think it's Big Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
you know, Large Marge or whatever it is, like was in
Yep.
that. Like, like there's Tim Burton, like that is just like back when Tim Burton, it was like fresh and new. And so when I saw this as a kid, like, this movie we talked about a lot on like we like to call it the playground. This is like before the internet. In the 80s, like you would find things out, by the way, by like rumors that people would say on the playground, like that they had heard about, like unsubstantiated shit. Like you didn't have any way to verify it or anything like that. So we would talk about Beetlejuice, and when I finally saw this movie, it's like I hated the Deeds family. This dad, I forget his name, but I've seen him in so many 80s movies. He's in
Yes.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off as
I
well.
can't remember his name either.
Um, but I loved the kind of comeuppance that they got during this because, like, I related to Winona Ryder's character, and how she was like, people weren't believing her, like, and they were just telling her she was crazy and whatever and stuff like that. And so I loved that this was like the kind of the fun revenge scene. That kind of validated her a little bit, and as a little kid, I fucking loved it because I felt like, again, like I related to her as a main character, and it was kind of like seeing the adults getting what was coming to them, which I still kind of feel like right now. It's like I always want to see the adults getting what's coming to them, even though I'm fucking 40. I'm just like, yeah, fuck the adults. But just the general scene, everything from the shrimp coming out and grabbing people's faces and everything like that, and Otho being weird. The whole design now, I have such an appreciation for it as an adult. I won't talk about the next Beetlejuice movie that's coming out, whatever. Um, but this was like super iconic for me and great. And again, like you, I always kind of walk around and have the song stuck in my head too. So, but peak Tim Burton, I don't give a fuck. People can be all about Nightmare Before Christmas. That's fine. Is what it is. Like that's not my generation. But this shit right here, was part of some of Tim Burton's like really really great shit. So
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember Pee Wee's. Love Pee Wee's.
so good,
I
so
watched that
good.
show all the time, and yeah, the movie was great. This,
It
and
was
then he got into
fantastic.
Batman. Like, yeah, you're right. That era for him, like, it's almost like he could do all these different genres, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you knew it was a Tim Burton movie, which is great. And like you said, I love the fact that yeah, the adults, they were finally shown that she was right. And the weird part about this is they were okay with this. They were laughing, having a good time afterwards. Like, oh, they
Yeah.
wanted to make this like a spectacle, a show. And that
Yes.
was like the twist you didn't see coming, because the whole point was Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin were trying to get them out the fuck out of their house. And they
Yeah.
do this, finally got this whole elaborate thing. And then, they just want to be a sideshow. And, but it was great. And like the booty shakes, the butt shakes. It's just hilarious, though, because that woman there just, like, how's my butt dancing like this? And
Oh my God, that's right.
I cannot help. I love this scene, and I love Beetlejuice. I mean, overall, it's just great. But yeah, I love this
Great
scene
movie.
because, in a weird way, out of everything, like I said, it was the one thing that should have seemed out of place in this movie, and it's the one of the best scenes that people remember most, just for the casual viewer. I know if you watch Beetlejuice again
Yeah.
and again, you'll remember other ones, but yeah, this was just a great scene, and one that stood the test of time too. So thank you for watching this video, and let us know in the comments what you thought of these iconic scenes. And if you like what you heard, please visit our channel for more podcasts and videos.